efficiency, transparency, and fairness.
Lamin Kamara, Director of Procurement, Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, calls on participants to improve skills as procurement officers so as to help in the successful implementation of PAGE.
So let us not see the procurement training just to be able to procure as procurement officers. Our efforts, our performances go beyond just procuring. It enables the government, as we start with the PAGE now, it enables the government to achieve the PAGE implementation at the right time and the right objectives are met.
The ceremony also saw awards of certificates to participants, and Hadi Jak from the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, on behalf of her colleagues, thanked all who contributed to the successful completion of the training and argued that they would deliver as expected of them. Samuel Ba, GRTS.
You can monitor GRTS Studio live on our website at www.grts.gm. We'll take our first break now. The news continues momentarily.
It is a story of a land, of a people, where communication has been our song, our drumbeat. We sing with hearts full of joy. We dream of a better future, one that is upon us now. This is who we are. We are close to the heart of the world. We are as old as time. The soul of man began with us. We are Africa.
Welcome back. Police in South Africa have made sweeping arrests after overnight raids conducted in and around the Marikana mines. The police recovered weapons and made 20 arrests. South Africa's industrial standoff, which began in the Marikana mines, has now spread to other areas. And in Nigeria, at least 80 people are reported dead after rain-induced floods battered much of the country. Authorities also say more than 500,000 people are made homeless by the floods. We have more on those stories and others in this roundup of news.
Police helicopters continue to survey the Marikana mine. Since last night, South African police have been searching miners' hostels, confiscating machetes, spears and other weapons. At least 20 people have been arrested. The raid came a day after the government called for order in the region. Since the deadly mining strike that began in August, industrial action has spread to other mines. For the first time, the families of the 4 French hostages being held in the Sahel called a press conference to demand the release of their loved ones and to denounce rumors that a ransom is to be paid. The hostages, working in Niger for the French company Arriva and its subsidiaries, were kidnapped on September 16, 2010 by members of Al-Qaeda of the Islamic Maghreb. Publishers of several pro-Gbagbo newspapers are suing Côte d'Ivoire's National Press Council for having suspended the publication of 6 of their dailies for a period of up to 2 weeks. The papers were approached for continuing to designate former members of the Gbagbo cabinet as ministers. The papers accuse the government of partisanship.
What we see is that the CNP strikes out with its left hand at some because of an error they commit, and with its right hand protects others who commit the same error. This is what we denounce.
At least 80 people are reported to have died in floods in Nigeria. Since July, heavy rains have provoked flooding which has destroyed thousands of homes, schools and warehouses storing food. More than 500,000 people are homeless. Many have sought refuge in the 30-odd emergency shelters set up by the government.
Human rights campaigners have denounced the government of Kazakhstan for what they call the systematic effort to stifle freedom in the Central Asian country. Reports say 16 oil workers were killed while protesting in the city of Zhengzhou. Many blame the police for the massacre, and opposition groups are calling on the government to address the country's growing human rights problems. We have details of that in this report.
The 16th of December 2011 in Zhengzhou, Kazakhstan. Oil workers who were sacked for organizing a strike occupy the town square and set on fire a stage put up for Independence Day ceremonies. At least 16 people are killed that day when police fire on protesters. Scores are arrested. It was the worst violence in decades in this oil-producing former Soviet republic in Central Asia, squeezed between two large neighbors, Russia and China. Kazakhstan's marginalized opposition blames the authorities.
The guilt lies, first of all, with the heads of the companies. And it goes up to Astana, up to the leadership of the region, up to the presidential administration. The head of state also has to bear responsibility for this.
The protesters arrested in Zhanaozen were put on trial in June, a trial in which the defendants were kept in a glass cage while their families were in pure anguish. That trial brought the country's laws on right to free speech and assembly to international limelight.
Once the workers went on strike, we also saw how the companies and the government attempted to break these strikes, in some cases by force, and including by punishing the organizers of the strikes, or people they believed who had organized the strikes, by imprisoning them unlawfully.
The authorities, worried about the country's reputation, argue that this observation is biased.
Journalism was a good lesson which we have taken note of, and I'm very much optimistic that there would be no such events anymore in one country.
Oil workers are not convinced. They say the government is simply not listening to them. Kazakh means free spirit, and it seems these Kazakhs in the country's leading economic sector are determined to make lots of noise until they obtain their rights and freedoms.
Amid the ash,
the U.S. have deployed teams of Marine to Sudan and Yemen in addition to Libya to bolster security on its diplomatic post. The move comes as Libyan authorities announced the arrest of most suspects over Tuesday's attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi. The attack, of course, killed the American ambassador and 3 other American staffers. CNN's Our Damon takes us inside the compound.
Amid the ash, soot, and debris, remnants of a life that was, and what it meant to those stationed here. Scrawled on this sheet, Libya is so important. Traces of blood stain the walls. What is now a blackened ruin was a pleasant compound in an upscale Benghazi neighborhood. Libyan officials say Tuesday night's attack was planned by Islamist militants and quickly overwhelmed the Libyan and American guards. The compound's first line of defense easily breached.
According to one of the Libyan guards who was stationed at the gate, armed with only a radio, the assault happened simultaneously from 3 different directions. He says that he initially heard chanting growing increasingly louder, and then suddenly the gunfire, the rocket-propelled grenades, and other heavy machine gun fire all began attacking the compound. He is so terrified of repercussions that he is refusing to appear on camera. He says at one point the masked men came over and threatened to kill him at gunpoint for protecting the infidels. He only survived because another individual within their ranks intervened and managed to lead him away.
A rocket-propelled grenade took out the power and set the main residence on fire. Here, the bedroom where U.S. Ambassador Chris Stevens stayed, part of a small suite. We are told this is where the ambassador, after being separated from his guards in the chaos, smoke, and darkness, died of smoke inhalation.
What we're being told is that the ambassador's security detail brought him into this location, shutting the door, trying to ensure his safety. And then we were being told that when the situation finally calmed down, the ambassador's body was then taken out through this window by a group of Libyans.
Other consulate staff were evacuated to what was supposed to be a safe house, but then it too was targeted. That's where 2 more Americans died. Libya's government has vowed to bring the perpetrators to justice, but the country's president touring the site admitted that would be difficult.
We'll do our utmost, whether we'll succeed or not. God help us, but we expect help from our friends.
Currently, you're not capable. Currently, you cannot control these groups. Currently.
You are not far